If you are going to listen, truly listen, then sit still. Stillness is the only currency the dark respects. This is not simply a story. It is something watching the space behind your shoulder as you read. It is a performance meant to be experienced in a single sitting, like the slow exhalation of a dying candle. Lean closer. Let the quiet open its jaw. The invitation. Elias Fenn never planned to return to the house on Widdershade Road. But houses like that, houses that stare, never forget their former occupants. The letter arrived on a rainless night, slid under his apartment door with a whisper finer than dust. No stamp. No signature. Only 8 words, carved rather than written. Come back. It has been waiting for you. Elias stood in his narrow hallway, the buzzing fluorescent light flickering overhead like a nervous thought. His fingers trembled as he held the letter because he recognized, impossibly, the pressure of the pen strokes. His mother's hand. Dead 23 years. He dropped the letter. It landed upside down. The message on the back was worse. You left before it was finished. A cold memory unfurled, a door opening by itself, a voice calling him from under the floor, his mother's hand slipping from his as something in the dark breathed with anticipation. Elias knew what the letter meant. The house had woken. Widdershade Road was always too quiet. Even crickets avoided it. Not out of fear, insects have no fear, but out of instinct. And instinct is far older than terror. The walk felt longer than it had in childhood. Branches bowed over the path as Elias passed, not swaying in wind but as if turning to face him. He saw the house before it saw him. It always noticed late. That was part of its hunger. Its frame sagged forward, like a listener leaning over the edge of a secret. Every window pane dim and blind, reflecting nothing. He felt a pressure in the back of his skull, a slow, deliberate awareness, squeezing like a gloved hand. Then the door opened by an inch. No wind. Just invitation. And the breath he thought he released was not his. The threshold. The inside smelled the same. Wet plaster, old grief, and something beneath it all, something that had once been soil, then rot, then something even the earth refused to hold. The door closed behind him. Not slammed. Closed gently, with the affection of a predator nudging a meal deeper into its den. His mother's voice whispered from somewhere deep in the walls. Elias. You're late. He froze. That voice was perfect. Not an imitation. Not an echo. Perfect. Mom, he breathed. The lights flickered once, then steadied, dim and sickly, the color of bruised candle wax. Faint footsteps sounded upstairs. Too slow. Too heavy. As if each step tested the bones beneath the floorboards. Elias knew then. The house had learned to walk. 4. The portrait hall. He forced himself deeper into the corridor lined with old portraits, 12 frames that had always unnerved him, partly because they seemed to shift. Not change. Shift, as if they had been caught in mid-breath. Now there were 13. The new photograph showed Elias himself, standing in that very hallway, wearing the very coat he had on now. But behind him, in the photo, a shape leaned close, its long face almost touching his hair. A face with no features except an outline, like a shadow wearing skin. Beneath the photo, scrawled in his mother's unmistakable hand. It will take your face tonight. Let it. He staggered back. The hallway lengthened. The floor sighed. The walls inhaled. Something was coming. The upstairs landing. Elias climbed the stairs because the darkness behind him felt too thick to withstand. But halfway up, the air went silent, not empty, but held. A figure stood at the top landing. Tall. Joints too loose. Head tilted as though listening to something inside his bones. Elias. Not a question. A summons. Its voice rasped through the air like a knife being dragged against old stone. The figure stepped forward, and its face, pale, unmarked, unfinished, shifted, almost seeking a shape. Not its own. His. It extended a hand. I can finally be you. He ran. The stairs buckled as if taking breaths. The banister groaned in disappointment. The sound of footsteps followed, not fast, but patient, like a lullaby dragging chains. 6. The heart of the house. He fled into the only room that had ever felt remotely safe, his childhood bedroom. It had not aged. The wallpaper still held faint patterns of moons and wolves. His old wooden toys sat in neat rows on the shelf, but each one had been turned to face the door, waiting. The air trembled. You came back, said his mother's voice, right behind him. He turned. She stood there. Or rather, something shaped like her. Her smile was perfect. Too perfect. The kind of smile that has been practiced in a mirror made of mourning. You left me here, she whispered. You left me with it. Her fingers, long and trembling, brushed his face. Her skin felt damp, as if freshly unburied. He choked, Mom, you're not. The smile widened, cracking at the edges. No. Neither are you, Elias. Not yet. The house groaned with satisfaction, floorboards shifting like a stomach digesting warmth. His mother's form collapsed inward, bones folding like paper, and from within her emptied frame, something crawled, tall and thin, dripping the echo of her voice like melted wax. You came back so I can finish. 7. The hollow quiet. Silence fell, thick, suffocating, absolute. The kind of silence that has weight, that presses against the eardrums with wet fingers. Everything in the house stopped to watch. The thing rose to its full height, impossibly tall, its face now molding, stretching, sculpting itself into Elias's features. Not a copy. A replacement. He backed away, but the room elongated, stretching like a dark throat. You were mine the night she disappeared, it murmured. She offered herself in your place, but I do not accept bargains. Its half-formed face shivered. Taste of you remains here. Memory. Fear. Regret. You left pieces. It leaned closer. I keep what is left unfinished. The walls began to whisper, thousands of tiny breaths speaking in unison. Stay. 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 8. The mirror. His childhood mirror, the one his mother had insisted he never touch, flickered. Not reflecting him, but the hallway behind him. In the reflection, the house's corridors twisted, spiraling, winding inward like a maze made from veins. His reflection stared back at him. Except he had not moved. The reflection smiled. Let me out. Elias's heartbeat stuttered. The thing behind him laughed, a slow, satisfied exhale, and pressed a hand against his spine, urging him forward. Go on. Take your place. I took hers. He saw then, reflected in the mirror, his mother, trapped behind the glass, knocking, screaming soundlessly as shadows pulled at her face. She hadn't escaped. She had been kept. Just like he would be. Unless he did what she hadn't dared to do. He raised his fist. And struck the mirror. Glass shattered inward like a gasp. The reflection did not break. It lunged. 9. The last performance. The house shrieked, wood twisting, foundation cracking, dust raining from the ceiling like grave ash. The figure of Elias's reflection pulled itself out of the broken mirror, smiling with teeth too many and too eager. The thing behind him, the house's unfinished inhabitant, roared with rage, its growing face melting into something void-like and furious. Elias did the only thing left. He stepped back toward the creature. And whispered, Take me. Not him. The reflection froze. The monster shuddered. A pact unspoken formed in the trembling air. The house loved only one thing. Exchange. A life for a life. A face for a face. A soul for a story closed properly. The creature's long hands gathered Elias gently, almost respectfully, as if accepting a long-awaited apology. The reflection screamed, dragged back into the glass as if pulled by unseen claws. Elias felt cold fingers press against his cheeks. Felt his face soften, melt, reshape. He did not fight. When the creature finished, it whispered. "Thank you." Aftermath. A week later, a realtor walked through the house on Wittershade Road, making notes about the foundation and the old wallpaper. "It's empty," she said aloud, though she couldn't stop glancing over her shoulder. But when she passed the hall of portraits, she paused. 13 frames. In the 13th. A young man, face calm, eyes hollow, smiling faintly as though relieved. Underneath, written in a hand that had not held a pen in decades. Finished. Behind her, the floorboards groaned contentedly. The house had what it wanted. For now. Second story, The Man in the Last Window. Told in one breath, without breaks. If you insist on hearing this story, then close every curtain in the room first. Not because the tale requires it. But because you do. Go on. I'll wait. Good. Now. Sit. Don't lean back too far, don't let anything unseen brush your shoulders. And don't, under any circumstances, look at your window until the performance is finished. This is the story they whisper about in the alleys of cities that pretend they no longer believe in ghosts. An urban legend that moves like a rumor with a pulse. A legend about a man who isn't a man, a watcher who doesn't watch, a shadow that doesn't need the dark. They call him the man in the last window. Not last as in final. Not last as in remaining. Last as in the window you always check only after every other. Because you didn't remember it was there. And tonight, you will learn why you always forget it. The city that sleeps with one eye open. It happened in a place that could be any city. Tall buildings breathing exhaust like tired beasts. Subway tunnels humming with uneasy electricity. Neon signs buzzing with the kind of light that never reaches the ground. This is where he lives. Not on a street. Not in a building. But in a blind spot no architect ever drew. Crows never perch near it. Wi-Fi signals die when you walk past. People hurry without knowing why, clutching their collars tighter. Children don't point at it. Children always know better. Still, the building stands. 28 floors. Hundreds of windows. Each one cracked, stained, or stuck. Except one. The last window. Always clean. Always untouched. Always waiting. No one remembers which floor it's on. No one remembers ever seeing a person inside. But all remember the legend. If you see the man in the last window, he has already seen you first. 2. Lila Hargrove's Midnight Walk. Lila was the kind of girl who thought urban legends were just warnings dressed in spooky outfits. She worked late, walked home at hours where the night feels thinner, and made a sport of mocking the stories old cab drivers muttered under their breath. On a Tuesday, because horrors prefer ordinary days, she stepped out of the subway at 1:43 a.m. Rain slicked the pavement like oiled glass. Her breath fogged the air, though her skin felt warm. She passed the abandoned building on Henswick and Row. The one no one ever discussed unless drunk enough to regret it. Lila had seen it before. Gray. Grim. Dead. Tonight, though, something glimmered high above. A faint, white rectangle. A window. Lit. She frowned. The building had been dark for years. Did someone break in? Did squatters finally find it useful? The rational explanations comforted her. Until the figure appeared. A silhouette. Thin. Perfectly still. Pressed almost lovingly against the glass. She stopped walking. Her breath froze. The figure wasn't watching the street. It was watching her. Its head tilted. Slowly. Like a creature learning the idea of curiosity. A pressure filled her ears, like air being sucked out of the night. People had claimed the man in the last window didn't move like a human. They were right. His head didn't turn. It repositioned. As though the space around him distorted to accommodate the gesture. A slow, deliberate smile spread across the glass. Not his lips. The reflection of his lips, imprinted where no face should be pressed. Lila blinked, and the window was dark again. Empty. Dead. She ran. She didn't look back. But she felt the unmistakable sensation of something pacing her from above. 3. Something follows. Over the next days, Lila noticed things. Small things, at first. Her apartment windows would be fogged from the outside. She lived on the 17th floor. No scaffolding. No cleaners. A cold patch grew beneath her bedroom window. Not a draft. A shape. At night, her reflection lagged half a heartbeat behind her. She told herself it was exhaustion. But exhaustion doesn't whisper your name. It started 3 nights after she saw him. A faint tapping. Not on the glass. From inside it, as though the pain had a second surface deeper than sight. Tap. Tap. Long pause. Tap tap tap. A pattern. A code. She recorded it. Played it back. Slowed it down. It was knocking in 3s. Let me in. 4. The rule no one learns on time. There is one rule about the man in the last window. If you see him once, you will see him again. Closer. First in a window. Then in a reflection. Then in the glass of your phone. Then in your dreams. Each time nearer. Each time sharper. Each time more aware of you. Until one night. You wake up. And find him standing on the wrong side of the glass. Not outside. Not inside. In the space between, where only reflections live. That night came for Lila on the 11th day. She awoke at 3:16 a.m. The time between heartbeats. The time night holds its breath. Her room was dark but not empty. She felt it before she saw it. A pressure in the air, like a lung expanding behind her mirror. The tapping started again. But this time, it came from every reflective surface in the room. The window. The black TV screen. Her phone. The doorknob. Even her eyes watered, reflecting just enough to count. Tap. Tap tap. Pause. Her body refused to move. And then. The last window appeared. Not on a building. Not on a wall. Floating. Framed in darkness. A perfect glowing rectangle forming inches above her bed. He stood inside it. Closer than ever. Face pressed gently to the invisible pane separating his world from hers. He smiled. This time the lips were real. Slowly, a hairline crack formed across the surface like a spider marking its prey. He lifted a hand. Longer than a hand should be. And placed it on the inside of the invisible window. Lila choked, unable to scream. He whispered. In a voice made of breath on glass. Moved. I moved closer. The pane cracked again. And again. Then. Shrip. Something slipped through. Not his whole body. Just one fingertip. Cold. Wet. as sharp as regret. It dragged down her cheek, leaving a streak that steamed like frostbite. She blacked out. The last recording. When they found Lila's apartment the next morning, her door was locked from the inside. Her phone was on the floor, still recording. The police replayed the audio. At 3:17 a.m., a man's voice whispered. "Not yet. Soon." Then silence. She was gone. The only trace. A single handprint on the inside of her window. But not on the glass. Inside it. Like something had reached into the pane. And waited. 6. Where urban legends are born. People tried to explain it away. Break-ins, psychosis, misinterpretation. But the legend spread. Someone else saw a lit window in the abandoned building. Then another. Then another. Each claimed the same thing. The face they saw inside the last window wasn't just watching. It was learning them. Their smile. Their posture. Their fears. Sometimes, weeks later. The face becomes their own. That's how the legend grows. Not through stories. Through disappearances. The man in the last window doesn't kill. He collects. He replaces. He moves into the shape of those who see him. One window at a time. People say if you ever spot a lit window in a building you know is empty. Don't look. Don't blink. Don't breathe. And if you already have, you must never check your reflections at night. He uses them as doorways. He uses them as invitations. He uses them to step closer. And closer. And third story. This is the tale of the corridor that exists only at night. And the woman who discovered it. The apartment that had no secrets, until it did. Mara Voss moved into apartment 6D knowing two things. It was cheap. Cheap meant trouble. But trouble was preferable to living in her car. She was a journalist burned out from a career that demanded truths the world didn't want. And the world punished her for telling them. The building was old, the kind of old that doesn't creak. It breathes. Pipes shook. Radiators clanged. The elevator moaned like something inside it dreamed of freedom. But the apartment itself? Quiet. Compact. Harmless. Until midnight. That was when the air changed. Not colder. Denser. As if the building inhaled and held it. That was the first time Mara heard the sound. A footstep. In her hallway. Inside the apartment. Soft. Measured. Purposeful. She sat up in bed, heart hammering. The apartment was small. A single hallway connecting bedroom to bathroom to kitchen to door. But this footstep didn't come from her hallway. It came from something longer. A hallway that didn't exist. She waited. Another step. And another. Coming closer. Then. Nothing. She stayed awake until dawn. When she checked the apartment, there was nothing out of place. But she couldn't shake the feeling. Someone had been standing right outside her bedroom door. Listening. 2, midnight, day 2. The next night, Mara stayed awake deliberately. She sat on the couch with a notebook, taking notes the way she would for an investigation. At 12:03 a.m., the air thickened again. Her ears popped, like pressure had shifted inside the building. And then. Step. From the hallway. But she could see the hallway from where she sat. Empty. Short. Only 5 steps long. Yet the footstep echoed like it came from a corridor far deeper. Step. Closer. Mara stood, gripping a heavy flashlight. Step. Now it was directly behind the bathroom door. She flung the door open. Empty. But the sound continued. Moving away now, receding into a space she could not see. And then she saw it. At the far corner of her hallway. A seam. A thin, vertical line where no line should be. Like the outline of a door that had not been there the day before. She blinked. Gone. As if the building wanted to make sure she doubted herself. 3. The building superintendent who wouldn't talk. The next morning, she confronted the superintendent, Mr. Calder. He was repairing a railing when she approached. "There's someone walking in my apartment at night," she said. Without looking up, he muttered, "No one breaks into 6D. That's not what I said." "Then stop asking." She stepped closer. "You know something. Tell me." He finally looked at her, and the weary, terrified resignation in his eyes struck her harder than any threat. "Some doors in this building," he said quietly, "don't stay shut. And some, don't stay gone." "What does that mean?" He swallowed. The tool in his hand trembled. "When you hear it again," he whispered. "Whatever you do, don't open anything." 4. Midnight, Day 5. Mara prepared. Flashlight. Voice recorder. Camera set at 3 angles. Notes. At 12:01 a.m., the pressure shifted. At 12:02, the air thickened. At 12:03. Step. Her hallway darkened at the far end. Not because the light dimmed. But because something blocked it. A shape. Tall. Still. But she could only see the edges, like a silhouette hiding behind a veil of distortion. Another step. And the distortion moved. She raised the camera. The screen glitched. For the briefest flicker. She saw a corridor stretching far beyond the limits of her apartment. Old wallpaper peeling, humming lights flickering. And a solitary figure standing within it. A man. Tall. Thin. Head slightly tilted as though listening. When she lowered the camera, the corridor vanished. Only her short hallway remained. But the man. The man was still there. Closer now. Footsteps continued, though he did not move. Step. 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 Growing louder. Approaching. "Who's there?" she whispered. The footsteps stopped. Then. A voice answered from the dark end of the hall. A voice that sounded like someone trying to remember how to speak. Not who. When. The corridor not meant for now. Mara froze. The figure took one slow step into view. Not through the hallway. But through the wrong angle of the wall, like reality was folding to make space for him. His clothes were old. Torn. Covered in dust like he'd walked here from decades ago. His eyes were sunken with exhaustion that no living human could survive. "Mara Voss," he said softly. Her blood ran cold. "How do you know my name?" He tilted his head the other way. A sharp, unnatural angle. "I was you," softly. "Once." Her skin prickled. "What do you mean?" He took another step. And as he did, the walls trembled. Reality flickered. For a split second she saw 2 images at once. Her hallway. And another hallway, lifeless and rotting. With the same wallpaper, the same layout. But different years. The distortion wasn't the man. It was time. The corridor that appeared at midnight was not a haunting. It was a leak. A fracture. A passageway between moments that should never touch. And the man was something from the other side of that fracture. Something that had once been human. 6. The truth he shouldn't have told. He lifted his hand slowly. Not threatening. Pleading. "You can't stay here." "Why?" "This building is sick," he whispered. It slips. Every night. 1 minute of fracture becomes 2. 2 become 5. One day, midnight won't end. Her mind raced. What's happening to you? He swallowed. I stepped into the corridor when it first appeared. I thought it was a dream. A mirage. A secret door. His voice broke. But you can't walk into a moment that isn't yours. Time doesn't let you back out the same. Mara's breath caught. How long have you been trapped? He gave a broken laugh. Long enough that no one remembers I existed. Her phone buzzed suddenly. She glanced at it. No notifications. But the screen displayed a photo taken without her consent. A photo of her hallway. Empty. Except. In the photo. She stood at the far end, staring back at herself. Her throat tightened. What happens if the corridor fully opens, she whispered. The man went still. His face creased with a sorrow beyond language. You become part of it. 7. Midnight never comes alone. The lights flickered violently. The walls shuddered like something massive pushed against them from the other side. The seam returned. That vertical line she had seen days ago. Now widening, cracking open like a door being forced into existence. The stale smell of old time poured through. Dust, mildew, echoes. The corridor appeared in full now, stretching deep into the impossible. The man backed away, his eyes wide and desperate. Don't follow it. Mara clutched the door frame. I'm not. You will, he snapped. Everyone does. The door widened more, the dark pulling at her like a breath inhaling its final victim. She dug her fingers into the frame. Her feet slid an inch across the floor. Then another. The pull strengthened. The corridor wanted her. No, no, and no. The man lunged, grabbing her wrist. But as soon as he did, he screamed. His hand began to fragment. Not break. Unexist. His fingers dissolved into dust, years peeling from his skin like ash. He released her with a sob. You're from a different time. Touching you unravels me. He stumbled backward. The corridor roared. Lights burst overhead. The fracture widened. And the suction pulled her abruptly forward. She lost her grip. Her body jerked. She was being taken. The man shouted, voice cracking with terror. Mara, listen to me. Run in your time. Move, now. She hit the floor. Her head snapped sideways. Her eyes rolled. Darkness swallowed her. 8. When she awoke. She opened her eyes to morning light. The apartment was silent. Normal. Safe. Had it been a dream? She sat up sharply. No seam. No corridor. No man. She almost laughed in relief. Then she noticed the dust on her hand. Dust shaped like fingers. His fingers. Her stomach dropped. On the wall opposite her bed. Words were scratched in desperate, uneven strokes. Don't stay for midnight. Run. 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 And beneath that, you become what you follow. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A new photo. A photo taken exactly at 12 a.m. It showed her standing at the end of a hallway that wasn't hers. Looking back. Expression blank. Waiting. 9. The corridor changes its target. Mara fled the apartment before nightfall. She didn't pack a bag. She didn't lock the door. She just ran. But as she reached the lobby, every light flickered at once. The air changed. Dense. Pressurized. A shadow leaned from the corner of her eye. Not a man. Not a ghost. A shape. A silhouette she recognized now too well. Herself. Older. Dust-covered. Standing inside a corridor of peeling wallpaper. Watching her leave. Mara bolted through the doors. She didn't stop running. People on the street stared as she sprinted past, terrified. But none of them noticed the reflection in every window she passed. A hallway behind her. Growing clearer. Closer. Brighter. The corridor wasn't tied to the apartment. It was tied to her. And midnight follows wherever you go. The ending that isn't an ending. Mara left the city. She changed her name. She avoids mirrors, windows, glass, anything with a reflection. But every night at 12:03 a.m. No matter where she is. She hears a single footstep. From a hallway that shouldn't be there. Step. Then another. Step. Always getting closer. And sometimes. In the darkness beyond her bedroom door. She hears a soft voice, cracked with time, whispering. Mara. Not who. When. And she knows. One night soon. The corridor will open again. And this time. She won't wake up on the right side of it.